Some of you may know that in Finland, children at school learn Finnish and they also learn Swedish. For historical reasons, Sweden was a colonizing country that colonized Finland. So they have a bilingual baseline policy. All children also learn English, but there are minority communities who live up in the Arctic region, and there are a number of small communities of people who speak Sami. Now, there's a project that has been run by Sari Pietikäinen in Finland, and it's working with the multilingualism of the children in the classroom. And on your table, in the middle of your table, you should have two handouts like this. These are photocopies of little books that have been made by children. These are children who speak Sami, and they're bringing their Sami into the classroom. They're bringing their ability to know and use their Sami language. So the children start off making a little story. They each make a little story. They illustrate their story, and they write one line on each page. And then either they or their friends translate the story into other languages or additional languages that they know. So have a look at these. We've got some of the pages in your folder. So the children actually get to see stories that they can recognize, that they can read and write in the language that they feel most comfortable with. Plus, they get to read the story in additional languages. So here is the next page. And you can just see that what happens is, with the way in which these little books are made, the actual mechanism, which is handwriting, children's own handwriting, is the primary literacy visual representation in the little book. And then the story gets translated and typed below in different languages, including the original language. So what we would like you to do now is each person to use one of those A3 sheets of paper on your table. We would like you to make a story, a children's story, using the languages that you have at your table. Something that I want to suggest is we often imagine that something is a simple process. The process of translating is an incredibly complex it requires meta-linguistic expertise. We cannot see those processes because they happen in the brain. The very process of asking students to translate what they have said into written text and then perhaps into another written language is a set of incredibly complex, higher order cognitive tasks that we ask students to do. So every one of the little tasks that we have given you today may have appeared to be more suited for primary or early primary school students. But if you think about them a little bit more deeply, every single one of those tasks can be used at every level of the learning continuum, from pre-primary all the way through to secondary. The actual process of translating, one doesn't just work with word-to-word translation. One has to actually translate, and then one has to version the translation into the appropriate discourse style of the target language. So those two steps, it's not a one-step process, it's at least a two-step process. So even if it is just translating a little baby storybook, the complex metalinguistic processes are incredibly complex. So the longer the narrative text, the more complex the texts are that we use, the more complex the higher order thinking happens to be. Translation is one of the most important concepts, and it is central to translanguaging. It was thrown out of the schooling pedagogy. Translation is back big time internationally in terms of languages teaching.